Now, Bitcoin just lost a major level. Now, Bitcoin is at a really important moment right now because over the last 24 hours, we've seen a major shift in the short-term market structure. Now, we've lost a key support level and buyers failed to reclaim it. And now the market pushed all the way down to the 76K region on a pretty aggressive liquidation move. But this isn't happening in isolation. At the same time, macro uncertainty is starting to rise again globally, especially surrounding the Iran situation and increasing geopolitical tensions involving the United States. And whenever markets start pricing in uncertainty like that, risk assets, especially crypto, will usually react very quickly. And now today, we're going to be breaking down exactly what happened with Bitcoin. So in today's video, we're going to break down exactly what happened with Bitcoin, exactly why the 76K level is very important, where price could be headed next, and then finally how the broader macro fear may also be affecting the market right now. Now, the first major thing that happened was that Bitcoin lost the short-term support level. As you can see, this is the short-term support level that we had for many, many days, and it was very valid. Up until yesterday, we broke through that level, and we attempted to retest it there. And as you can see, we had a rejection from the market. So the buyers actually failed to hold the price above the support level. And when support fails to reclaim it, it usually turns into resistance. And that's exactly what has happened here. The rejection triggered another move lower. And Bitcoin lost that 77K level, and momentum accelerated down towards the downside pretty quickly after that. And psychologically, one major round number levels like the 77K break immediately begin looking lower for liquidity zones and stopping clusters sitting underneath the market. So most of the liquidity is sat in the lower region at 75.5K, where we have about 113 million. Now we have, they are spread out a little bit. So we do have a little bit less liquidity in the upside, about 77.8K, to maybe reclaim that level and then maybe come back up to the 80K. And now Bitcoin did actually push all the way down to 75,992. And what made this level important is that the liquidity was sat around the 76K region. We had about 130 million liquidity sat there yesterday. Now this means a massive concentration of stop losses and leverage positions were waiting underneath that price. And you can see we swept that liquidity and we immediately pushed back up to the upside to try and reclaim that 77K level. And as you can see, we failed, but we are making higher highs in the hourly time frame for now. So pretty much instead of collapsing, Bitcoin reacted strongly from this area and buyers actually stepped in pretty aggressively. And since then, we're actually seeing a bullish structure building in these lower time frames. So looking on a daily time frame, you can't really see it, but if we look in the hourly, we can definitely see some higher highs and higher lows forming. So we could even maybe see a retest of that 77K level and a potential push towards the upside even further. So now that we have these higher highs and higher lows after sweeping this liquidity at 76K, structurally, that's one of the signs buyers are attempting to regain the short-term control again. Now, obviously, this does not automatically mean the correction is now over, but we may even get a retest for that short-term support level. But it is resistance, so we will have a lot of resistance there, as it is a very key zone that we was trending in for quite some time. So now the sellers aren't actually pushing that price down aggressively as they were earlier during that liquidation phase. And right now the market is basically trying to decide between two scenarios. Either this was simply a liquidity sweep before a continuation higher, or this was just a temporary relief before another lower leg. And honestly, the next key levels are going to definitely decide that move. We still do have an opportunity to come in for a continuation to the upside and maybe even potentially claiming that level of 80K again, as we have not come past the previous low that we have at this area here, which was on the 29th of April. So this was the previous low that we had that touched this short-term support level. Now, we have come to a low of 75,992, but that's at that 76k liquidity. So we just dipped ever so slightly below. Now, for that move to the upside to actually happen, we would definitely need a push back up to 77k. So realistically, we would need to hold that 77k in, well, this area, and then potentially continue looking to 78k and then even to 79k. And once we get to that level of 79k, then we can definitely start to kind of picture a move back into the 80 plus range. And now another thing, as you would have guessed, right now is the growing uncertainty surrounding the geopolitical conflict that is ongoing with the negotiations with Iran and the United States. So recent reports actually have shared by sources like Kobeisi letter suggesting tensions may be escalating even further after reports that the US officials warned negotiations could continue through bombing if Iran doesn't shift that position. So, regardless of politics, markets, as always, hate uncertainty. So, whenever geopolitical tensions rise, investors tend to get more defensive overall. Now, what we see is oil volatility increasing, bond yields reacting, traditional markets becoming more unstable, and risk assets like crypto usually feel the pressure and traders reduce exposure. So while Bitcoin's obviously technical right now, macro fear and geopolitical uncertainty are definitely adding fuel to the volatility across the entire market. So now, like I said, the current level we are looking at right now is the 77k region, because this is a previous region that we saw resistance at. As you can see, we've had multiple rejections from this level. We saw it yesterday when we had a rejection and we actually moved to a 76k liquidity. So if Bitcoin can actually successfully reclaim this 77k level with strong volume, then this recent move lower could simply just be a deviation and liquidity grab before the continuation higher. And in that bullish scenario, Bitcoin could start pushing back toward the higher resistance level around that 70k to 79k area, potentially visiting the 80k if the momentum is actually continuing to improve. But we will actually see how all of this unfolds in the upcoming days. And that's especially if ETF inflows stabilize and macro conditions actually calm down slightly. And now there's a but, a big but. So if Bitcoin does actually fail to reclaim this 77k level and momentum starts fading again, then the market could revisit the 76k lows very quickly. And then if the 76k lows break under strong selling pressure, then liquidity lower becomes the next obvious target, and then a potential look towards that 72k major support level that we have in the daily time frame. So the market right now is waiting to see if buyers can actually regain the control, or whether this recovery is simply just a temporary relief after a major liquidation event. And now Ethereum has actually been interesting to watch during these moves because it has actually looked weaker compared to Bitcoin. So while Bitcoin at least managed to build some recovery structure after the liquidity sweep, Ethereum still looks relatively heavy. And usually when Ethereum underperforms Bitcoin during volatility, it suggests that the market is becoming more risk off overall. Now, money actually tends to float towards Bitcoin first because traders see it as more of a safe asset inside of crypto during these uncertain conditions. So overall, these next couple of days will actually be very important, not just for Bitcoin, but the entire crypto structure moving forward. So overall, that's where Bitcoin stands right now. We've had a major support breakdown, a failed reclaim, and a sweep of massive liquidity below 76k. Another market is trying to rebuild the short-term bullish structure from that move. And the big question now is whether if this was a simple reset before the continuation higher, or the beginning of a larger correction of the market. Because if Bitcoin can reclaim these key levels and continue building higher highs and higher lows, then bulls still have a strong argument for another push upward toward the previous highs. But if momentum starts fading again and sellers regain the control, then the possibility of a deeper move back toward the 72k support region definitely comes into play. And honestly, that 72k area could become one of the most important levels in the entire market if this correction continues. So I actually want to know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think Bitcoin is simply shaking out leverage before another move higher, or are we about to see a much larger correction begin from here? So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And I'll keep you updated daily, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out a single thing. Now, just before you go, make sure you guys check out Evedex in the description below. It is a fully decentralized platform that you can use for all your trading. There's a lot of new things on there. We've got Tesla, we've got Tron, we've got everything you want to trade, we can trade. And if you fancy watching me trade on the platform, then feel free to join in on the next live trading session. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.